What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And with this video, we are getting into the finale of the X-Men, the Trial of Magneto. This will be issue number 5, bringing this mini-series to a close. And if you have not been keeping up with every single issue, go ahead, check out the link in my description, as well as the top of this video. It is going to get you completely caught up on everything that is going on with this series. Now, this has been a slow burn build-up. The issues really haven't been the focus of the Trial of Magneto so much as the rebirth of Scarlet Witch, the redemption of Wanda. With Wanda making her return, we saw that she pointed out the individual who was responsible for killing her. And so with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up at the Quiet Council. And that is because it is time to pass judgment on the individual that is responsible for killing the Scarlet Witch. For a good time now, it was very well believed that it might be Magneto. With him being suspect number 1, we have yet to see anybody else even questioned in this whole ordeal. But that is when we see the culprit. Brought before the Quiet Council, it is Toad. And he knows very well that he is here today because he is being tried for the murder of Scarlet Witch. To further this, he even admits his guilt. And he is also very aware of what punishment that brings. That punishment, it brings exile. And the Scarlet Witch is the first one to voice any kind of opposition to this judgment. Because with her being alive, with her holding absolutely no resentment towards Toad, she believes that the sentence is far too harsh for him. Magneto insisting that Krakoan laws must be enforced. They cannot be bent, they cannot be broken for nobody. And so without wasting any time, this trial gets underway. Though there's not going to be much of a trial to it, with X-Force bringing forward some information, having evidence to prove that Toad is responsible for this murder. And that's where they bring forward an enchanted pieces of metal. It's specifically spelled to dispatch the Scarlet Witch, with Toad saying that he only did what needed to be done. Wanda tore the Brotherhood apart, turning her back on everyone and betraying her father. Toad proclaims that he did this for the Brotherhood. He did this for Magneto. And with that, we see Krakoa grab hold of him and bring him down into his sentencing. Now, the Avengers, they witness this and they're a little bit skeptical, saying that this is kind of worse than even capital punishment. Now, this is a different nation. This is the nation of Krakoa. And so they have no right to say anything here, believing it's time for them to leave. It's time for them to get out of here. They go to grab Wanda, only for Wanda to say that she is not leaving, because Wanda has some family matters that she really needs to attend to. Not only that, she is going to continue to fight to try to have Toad released from his banishment. And with her saying her goodbyes to everybody, she goes and grabs 3 individuals, because this is what comes next. And so while she goes off and takes care of that, we have Magneto going and finding some solitude. Because while he may have the persona of a man who has a heart of just pure ice, at the end of the day, everything Magneto has done, every single thing in his life, from the creation to the Brotherhood and so on, was to save mutants, was to bring mutants together, to stand his people up. Everything he does is out of love, no matter how it is perceived. Magneto loves mutant kind. He loves his brothers and sisters. This is his family, and he loves them with every ounce of his being. Now, this very well could have to do with Scarlet Witch. It could have to do with the sentencing of Toad. But as we get through this comic, it is going to be much more clear on why this is happening, what has brought him to this state, and how mutant kind is going to change forever. Now, picking up, we have Scarlet Witch she is about to perform some kind of seance. And it is said that Doctor Strange, he once believed that chaos magic just did not exist. Now, of course, over time, he rectified this understanding, with him now knowing better, knowing that it is actually the oldest form of magic, that it was the first form of magic. And this magic, it wasn't created for good or evil. It's not destructive or constructive. The improbable, impossible spark of life, that flare-up came from chaos magic. And as the Scarlet Witch continues to draw this symbol on the ground, we see the arrival of Portus, Legion, and Polaris, the Prodigal Three. Now, 3 is very important, even mystical, and what their parents represent to Krakoa makes the 3 of them the most important figures here, saying that she knows it is these 3 that are needed to complete whatever she is about to do. Now, they are very skeptical on this actually working. And to be completely honest, the Scarlet Witch, she's not even sure if this is going to work, but she believes that it is going to work. And with each of them standing in their spots, the Scarlet Witch begins, but it doesn't seem to be working, with her not really understanding what is going on, because she made a place for all of them. That place being the Eldritch Orchard. Now, they can't see this place, but they can all feel it. All of them had felt it except for Polaris. And this is when Polaris lets Wanda know that it's not her that should be standing there, it is Wanda, because she is the one that is supposed to complete this circuit. Now, of course, she says she's not a mutant, but even so, Polaris lets her know that if you consider me family, then what difference does it make? Saying that Wanda is just as much his daughter as Polaris is. And so we see Wanda step into the circle, and this all begins to activate. Now, Wanda, she can take the past, the present, the future, all at the same time with her abilities. It's easy for her to fold them up into tiny little pieces, and then she gathers all of these pieces together, and from that, she creates a pocket dimension. A dimension that can hold all of these little tiny pieces that she has gathered throughout all of time. And with the circuit being completed, we see a light blasting up to the sky. And this light going up to the sky, this is the creation, this is the portal way to the Elysian fields of Krakoa. This is heaven that has been created. The Scarlet Witch, with all of her power, she created a pocket dimension, one that will hold all of mutant kind. This is their afterlife that she has created for them. But first, we have to be taken back to the night that she died. And we see both Magneto and Wanda having a conversation about what is to come, letting him know that this is the only way. And the reason she came to Magneto to begin all of this is because she knew she needed to die. She knew she needed someone who cared and loved enough about her to fight for her to come back, to push her to the front of the resurrection. Only then can her true work fully be completed. Only then will she be able to create the heaven that she wants for all of mutant kind. And so Wanda, being the one that created the item that could take her out, this was all staged. Wanda knew exactly what she was doing, playing the entire Quiet Council. By making her death look like a murder mystery, they knew that they would bring her to the front of the queue. That way they could find out who her murderer was. Magneto's only job was ensuring that they find the body, making sure that Wanda does get resurrected, and find somebody willing to take the dive when this all comes to fruition. Because if they find out that this was all a ploy from the Scarlet Witch, it might not work. The people might reject it, and it will all be for naught. And so when the Scarlet Witch died, all of the dominoes began to fall into place. And the day after the Ritual of 3, we have Northstar learning that one of the individuals that he wanted to adopt, that individual would have ended up being a mutant. And because of that, they have been thrown into the resurrection queue, which means Northstar and his partner will soon be parents. But that's not it. There has been 20 million mutants that were added to the resurrection queue overnight. 20 million souls who were lost before Cerebro started its backups or before the X gene could manifest. With time compacted, folded in on itself in a composite possibility, allowing Cerebro to scan all of time and space for every mutant who fell between the cracks of the resurrection protocols. And so what they are telling us is that no one is lost. No one is lost to time. Across all space, all time, every single mutant is now finding themselves in these new Elysian fields, in this new heaven, this pocket dimension that the Scarlet Witch has created. And one of the first resurrections is John Proudstar, aka Thunderbird. And so what the Scarlet Witch has done is created a permanent offshore backup for loved ones. It is protected from human hands deep in the astral plane. It can never be sabotaged or touched by anyone who is not a mutant. This is a opt-in Elysian Fields, exclusive to mutants. You can only enter yourself into the resurrection queue only if you want to. And as an alternative to the Crucible, all you have to do is walk up the steps and cross into the next room. And this afterlife is now being referred to as the waiting room. And so picking up in present day, we are getting the story being told to the children, the story of the Scarlet Witch, the tale of the pretender who became the Redeemer. And that will bring a close to this series. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Now this is freaking huge, guys. They just created an afterlife that is specific to mutant kind alone. Not only is it an afterlife, but it is a place where Cerebro has gone through all of time and space and found mutants that may have possibly become a mutant, had the X gene, but they never made it to puberty. They never had the opportunity to actually become a mutant themselves. And because of that, Cerebro now has them in a pocket dimension backup, a location where they can now choose to go stand in the resurrection queue and wait for their turn to be picked and come back down to Krakoa. Not only that, we are talking about every single mutant that Marvel has ever created, spanning all of time and space. So every single mutant that you could possibly think of now has the possibility to come back down to Krakoa. Not only that, there is so much going on the outside world. With all this craziness being stacked against mutant kind, this is definitely something they needed. Something that only mutant kind can get their hands on. Something that can be protected from the outside forces that would like to see the fall of all mutant kind. But they said 20 million mutants. And what it looks like is that Wanda is back into the fold. Maybe not saying that she is a mutant by definition, but she has definitely been redeemed in the eyes of mutant kind. Well, she made that one mistake so long ago, the mistake that has haunted her all of this time, the one that has kept her away from mutant kind. She has now found a way to redeem herself in the eyes of all mutant kind, giving everybody the chance to come back. She has finally been able to undo the mistake that she made. Finally able to undo no more mutants. And I gotta say, I was a little disappointed. I voiced that throughout the entire series that I've been reviewing. I've been disappointed because this was supposed to be the Trial of Magneto. But this has really been all about the Scarlet Witch. All about her creating this afterlife, creating this heaven. But this last issue was such a huge payoff. It is 100% worth it. And I am so freaking excited to see what Marvel brings to the table, what mutants they have in their arsenal ready to lock and load and let loose on Krakoa and the world. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.